Alright guys, so today we're going to learn how to find the surface area of prisms. First we're going to look at a rectangular prism. So I went ahead and filled in the note section part of this, so I'm just going to read through it. The surface area of a solid is the sum of the areas of all the figure's faces. When it talks about faces, that's just talking about each side of the figure. Alright, then a net is a two-dimensional representation of a solid that shows each face. That's why I've been having y'all do some practice with identifying which net goes with which 3D figure. So you can use these nets to help you find the surface area. So it's turning a 3D figure into a net, which should be very familiar to you because nets are just like composite figures. Alright, and then lastly, surface area is measured in squared units. So first, like I said, we're going to start with a rectangular prism. They have their rectangular prism right here, and then they unfolded it to make this net right here. And down below, it wants us to go through and find the area of each side. Excuse the little dog hair on it. Alright, it wants you to find the area of each side and then add them together. The good thing about rectangles is they can be a little bit on the easier side. So like side A and side B are these right here. And if you can remember back when we were in class when we talked about this, those shapes right there are congruent, meaning that they're both equal. So really you only have to find the area of one of them, and then you have the area of both of them. So you'll notice that when we look at this net, the side lengths are 4 and 5. So you'll notice on the net though, it doesn't have the 5 labeled here. But think about it, if we were to close this back up, this side would touch this side, which would make it 5. So I'm going to go through and find the area of side A and B first. So A and B, so we have 4 by 5. So that means that this is a rectangle. And if you remember back to your formulas, we said the rectangle of the area formula for a rectangle is length times width. Alright, so we have a length of 4 and a width of 5. Multiply those two together. 4 times 5 is going to give us 20 inches squared. Alright, so the beauty of this is, once again, A and B are the same. So we actually don't have to show all this work again. I can just say that B is going to be 20 inches squared. Alright, the next thing we're going to have is the other rectangular sides. Alright, so once again, some of them correspond because they're congruent. So we have C, and C is actually the same as B. Alright, so we're going to focus on that one first. Once again, that shape is a rectangle. So our formula for that is area equals length times width. Alright, so we have a length of 5 and then a width of 8. So when we do 8 times 5, we end up getting 40 inches squared. Like I said, once again, C and D are actually equal to each other because they're the same rectangle. So we don't have to show that math again. We can just go ahead and put 40 inches squared. All right, and then we have these two rectangles that are left, E and F. All right, so once again, E and F are going to be the same. So we know they're both rectangles again, so we have our area formula, which is length times width. So for this one, we know the length is going to be 4, but it doesn't have a width value. So I want you to think about it. If we were to fold this all back up, like you see over here, this 8, each one of these sides have a length of 8. So with that being said, this side, when we folded it back up, this side would touch this side, so that means that this has to be 8 inches as well. So it's going to be 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is going to give us 32 inches squared. Once again, F is the same, so we don't have to show all the work unless you just really want to. So now we have 32 inches squared. 32 inches squared. So we found this area of each of the different faces. Now to find the surface area, you have to add the areas of all these different sides up. So to do that, we're going to do, both of these are 20, so 20 plus 20. All right, and then we have 40 and 40, so 40 plus 40. And then lastly, the last two sides were 32. All right, so now we add those together. 20 plus 20 is 40. 40 plus 40 is 80. 80 plus 40 is 120. And then 120 plus 32 is going to be 152. And then 152 plus 32 is going to give us 184 inches squared. So that right there is the surface area for that rectangular prism that we were originally given. This is why I wanted you to learn nets, because nets make solving these problems so much easier. All right, so, but there's also a formula you can use. The catch with this is you can only use this formula when it comes to rectangular prisms. So the formula, I'm going to repeat that again. You can only use this with rectangular prisms. So it's going to be 2 times, all right, the length times the width, plus the length times the height, plus the width times the height. All right, and I'm going to show you how this is going to work. All right, so looking back, it wants us to label the length, the width, and the height. So looking at this, the length is going to be 8, so I'm going to put that in down here. The width of this shape is 4. All right, and then the height is 5. All right, so now that we've gotten that, I'm going to go through and fill this out. So we said the length times the width plus the length times the height plus the width times the height. All right, and I'm going to do these. 8 times 4 is going to give us 32. 8 times 5 is going to give us 40. 4 times 5 is going to give us 20. Now I'm going to come down here and add all these up. All right, so 32 plus 40 gives us 72. Add 20 more. That is 92. And then we multiply 92 times 2. We end up getting 184 inches squared. So once again, that's a formula you can use, but you can only use it when we're talking about rectangular prisms.